Kutov, today's Daf is Daf Ayin, number 70 in Ksubas, as we begin the new parak, the seventh parak, and we learn again for a for Shlema for Kurt's great-granddaughter Abigail Brindle Bas Shira Ella, who was operated on yesterday, and for Shlema for Yosef Asriel Ben Chaim Michal and Elosa Ben Reuma. Says the Mishnah, famous Mishnah, Madaris Ishto Vilahanaslo. A man forswore his wife from having any enough from him. Now, if he did that, so the first problem is how's he allowed to do that? He's obligated to. So Rashi tells us right away, we're not talking about bia, we're not talking about cohabiting, because that's something that the Torah requires him to do. You can't make a netter against the Torah. So, what about supporting her? Good question. The Gemara is we're going to deal with all that. So Madaras Ishtam Lahanaslo, he made a netter that he's not going to have, she can't have any enough from him. So we're not talking about bia. Bia, he can't do it because he's already forsworn from Sinai, from Hashem, that he has to have bia with her. But we're talking about supporting her, food, etc., food and clothing, supporting her. What about that? So we're going to see here, the Gemara is going to explain that it's speaking about where he says, okay, you keep your paycheck, and then he's allowed to do it. She agrees that she's allowed to do it. So he made such a netter that you can't have, that she's not going to have any enough from him. And as we'll see, it's speaking about where he said, you keep your paycheck so you'll have what to eat. Okay. I'm just hinting at what the Gemara is going to tell us, because it's still more complicated. So the Gemara says,
it doesn't include the living in his house, sleeping in the bed.
Yeah.
On the chair.
No.
I mean, she has to move out.
Right. Anything other than right. She'd have to, meaning having enough from him. Exactly. She'd have to move out, except for bia. In other words, he has to accommodate bia because that he's forsworn to do. So anything that involves bia, that he can't prohibit her from. But he can prohibit her from, let's say, food and clothing, the regular support. So here's the deal. Until 30 days, up until 30 days, we say, you know what, we can manage. He could set up a parnas, a trustee, or somebody who's going to take care of her and supply her needs, supply the food, etc. Yes, but if it's more than 30 days, not. We'll see in tomorrow's Gemara. The Gemara is going to say, what do you mean? Did he stipulate 30 days up front, or he didn't stipulate? The Gemara is going to come out. We're going to pass like Shmuel that he didn't stipulate. But until 30 days, if he doesn't get rid of the netter, he can go to Talmud and break the netter. Till 30 days, she can bear with it. She can abide with it because, she can manage. We'll see the Gemara will give different reasons. What's the idea of 30 days? Yes, more than 30 days. This is his fault. If it's his fault and she can't live with it. Now, let's say she says, you know what? Let's say they have an agreement. She says, like you have today, I make more money than you. You're sitting in Kolel. I'm making a nice paycheck. I'll live over here. We'll live over there. We'll have conjugal visits from time to time and raise a family. But today they do that with divorces. The husband and wife live in different places and they get along and the kids are grown and all that. So you know what? Even without a divorce, you can manage. If she agrees to it, no problem. But she doesn't agree to it. She's not happy about the situation. So until 30 days, she can manage. Yamad Parnas, you set up a Parnas, a trustee to support her. And more than I'm saying some conflicting things. We'll see in the Gemara. What do you need a trustee for if she has her own paycheck? Well, the Gemara's will discuss all that. So till 30 days, Yaman Parnas. Yes, Mikan. More than that, Yosef Ksubah. This is his fault. He has to give her a get if she so desires and pay the Ksubah because it's his fault. Rabbi Yudah says, well, listen. If he's a Yisrael, you're right. 30 days. Rabbi Yudah, Yisrael Chodesh. Notice the Tanakhama said 30 days, and Rabbi Yudah said Chodesh. The Gemara will make an afkamina there. So Rabbi Yudah Yisrael Chodesh Echid Yikayim B'Shnayim Yotzi. Just like the Tanakhama, apparently. If it's Yisrael, then I agree. Until 30 days, she can manage. More than that, he has to give her a ksubah if she desires it. But Kohen, let's say he's a Kohen. And let's say he'll calm down. Maybe, a Kohen could get angry, divorce his wife suddenly, and then he can't change his mind the next day and kiss and make up because he's already divorced her. He can't take her, he can't marry a grusha, even if it's his own grusha. So by a Kohen, Yehuda says, allow them 2 months. Allow them 2 months because maybe 1 month they won't pacify each other. And so Shnai become 2 months, let it go and let her keep there. Don't force him to give her a ksubah. a get and a ksuba. V'shloshi yotzi, but if it's more than 2 months into the 3rd month already, then he has to give her a divorce and give her the ksuba. That's Rav Yehuda's opinion. We don't pass the Yehuda. Basically, but even the Tanakhama says you give him 30 days. You allow them 30 days. We'll talk about the 30 days in the Gemara. We'll talk about how is he allowed to do this at all, and why do you need a parnas? That's the first mission. Now there's another mission. This in the Mishnah, it's separate Mishnah. Here brings it down as one mission. The Gemara is going to come out. This is not speaking about where he made such a. He can't make it. He can't say, "Listen, I prohibit you. I prohibit all fruits. Let's say apples. Okay, I prohibit you from eating apples." He has no power to do that. He has no power. A person could say, "Hey, apples are forbidden to me." He can't prohibit her from eating fruits. So how does that work? Let's say apples, oranges, whatever it was, one kind of fruit she can. So the Gemara says, Yotzi v'eating ksuba. Again, he has to give her, he should divorce her if she so desires, v'eating ksuba, and give her ksuba immediately. Here the Gemara doesn't make enough. The Mishnah doesn't say 30 days. So the Gemara is going to come out that we're here speaking about where she was upset. She had a bad apple or she had a bad day. And she said, that's it, apples are forbidden to me. Now, what happens when a wife makes a neder? The husband can break the neder under certain conditions. If number one, either it's something that involves inui nefesh, afflicting, and that's something that's afflicting. For example, I don't eat apples every day, but if somebody said you're never allowed to eat apples, Ad may have asked him, you'd feel pretty bad. All of a sudden you'd want an apple. That would be kind of afflicting. That's one way. If it's either because of eating nefesh or it's something which is beino lebeino, that afflicts their intimacy in marriage. For example, if she said that if I eat any apples, it's also for me to have anah from bia with you. So that affects their marriage. In other words, you can't have bia. So in other words, a husband can't break her neder stam. If stam she said, listen, I never want to use this mixer again. This mixer is also to me. If what does he care? So use another mixer. It doesn't affect their marriage, and it's not something that afflicts her. So then he can't break that. But here it's something that it's either affliction or it affects their marriage, their intimacy. So then he has to give her ksuba. Now here he doesn't give you 30 days notice, right? Yotziving ksuba, because here the idea is that if she made it in the first case, and Gemara is going to give different reasons for the 30 days, but the difference between the basic idea here, the Mepharshim say between 30 days in the first case and the second case. In the first case, he made the neder. He said, "Listen, you can't. I'm not feeding you anymore. You can't. I'm not feeding you. I'm not clothing you. Like Avram says, I'm not housing you except for what's necessary for Abiyah." He made the neder. So she says, "Look, maybe I can hold out 30 days. It's not so bad that people won't know about it. It's not so embarrassing. I can manage. He'll calm down." Sometimes the husbands calm down after a fit of anger. But in a case like this where she made the neder and he confirmed it, he was either confirmed it or he was quiet for 24 hours and he didn't say anything, right? Meaning that she says, if that's his attitude, I had a fit, the girl said, I had a fit of anger. And he confirmed it. He wasn't angry. That's worse. When he did something not in a fit of anger, that shows that he really hates me. You understand? Because he says, yeah, don't. That's worse. There you have to give a ksuba right away.
But the neder is valid.
The neder. So here's the thing. She made the neder. He confirmed it. The neder is valid, and therefore he has to divorce her. So now you're bringing up a good question. So the Mepharshim ask, wait a minute. So what does she get out of getting divorced if the neder is still valid, right? What does she gain out of that? It's still valid. So the answer, so some say very simply, she just can't stand him. But if he hates her so much, she wants out. Now, some say, and this is a minority opinion, some say, you're bringing a very good point. Some say that if he confirms the neder, in other words, what's the other option for her? Go to a Talmud Chacham, break the neder, right? Hatar Sadarim, what we do, right? The husband can only confirm or break the neder that day. After that day, he's out of it, right? It's only the husband or a father if she's up until 12 and a half. But a Talmud Chacham could always break the neder because he's oker the neder milah mafreya. So why can't she go to a Talmud Chacham? She could, but she wants out because he hates her. That's her. That's what she's saying over here. So some Mepharshim say from here that that you see from over here, because what is she going to gain? Some say that once he confirms it, a Talmud Chacham can't break it anymore. That's a neder that a Talmud Chacham can't break. but most unfortunately don't say that. She can still break the neder, but so break it now. She could go to break it now, but she wants out if that's what he's doing. And Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yisrael, Yom Echad Yekayim Shnaim Yos. Again, Rabbi Yehuda is more makel. He says, listen, if it's Yisrael, give him a day. For one day, you can imagine it. Let's see if he breaks it. Shnaim, if it's 2 days already, Yosef in Suba. But Kohen, by a Kohen, give him an extra day. Shnaim Yekayim Shloshi Yossi. If he's Mekayim, in other words, for 3, Yekayim here doesn't mean Mekayim the neder. It means that if she made the neder, he confirmed it, Yekayim, she could stay with him. He doesn't have to give the get right away. 2 days, you can Yekayim Shloshi Yossi, be eating Suba, because you want to give the Kohen an extra chance for either him he can't break the neder after the first day, but maybe go to a Talmud Chacham or whatever, get out of it. But in other words, you don't have to give the get in the ksuba right away, because maybe you want to give him extra time, because once the Kohen gives her a get, he can't take her back if he's a Kohen. That's the second case. The third case is similar to the second case. She can't perfume herself. She can't decorate herself. She can't put on makeup. So again, he can't forbid her from putting on makeup, right? But here's again, she made the neder. She's not going to put up any makeup, and it's either afflicting to her because a woman without makeup feels very badly, right? It's considered an affliction, like she can't eat apples or oranges or whatever. Or she said, if I wear any perfume, I forbid myself from the hano of bia is also to me, so she can't have bia with him, so it affects their marriage. In this case, also he could break the neder, and he didn't. He confirmed it. Again, Yosef in Suba. Rabbi Yossi Omer ba'anias shulat ning. What do you mean? A poor girl, it's only if he didn't give it shulat kiss, but he didn't give a certain time. In other words, there was no time limit. She says, I'm not going to put on any perfume forever. So if she's forever, it's speaking, that's Yotnik Siba right, because it means like forever. And he confirmed that. What's forever? So he said, what's not forever? If he gave a kitzvah up until a year. A poor girl can manage a year without perfume. Ashira Shloshim Yom. A rich girl, you give her 30 days. Why? Because a rich girl, she has perfume already. So she managed for 30 days, he can manage. So Rabbi Yossi says that this business about the perfume or the makeup is only if it's more than 30 days by a rich girl, and by a poor girl, it's even up to a year, as the Gemara will explain. Okay, so here we have, the last two cases speaking where she made the neder and he confirmed it. We'll talk about those cases more tomorrow. Today's Gemara is dealing with the Madaras Ishto, where he said, you can't have enough for me. So the Gemara says right away, how can you make such neder? He's obligated to feed her. He's obligated to take care of her. One of the things that a man has to do is feed his wife, give her clothing, give her housing, right? So given the Meshubah Hachim Matzim called Kamina, is he empowered the Mafkal to take away the obligation? But time we learn, we have a Mishnah which says like this. We had this before as a Mishnah in Yavamas and Kedushim and Adarm. If she makes a neder, then I am not going to give you any hana. Right? She makes such a neder. I'm not gonna sew for you. I'm not gonna cook for you. I'm not gonna clean for you. All the things that she's required to do. He doesn't even have to break that neder. He's like, a husband can break a neder, but he doesn't even have to break that. Why? Because she's already meshubah to him. Since she's obligated to him to fulfill her end of the marriage, those obligations that she has, things he's supposed to do. Lav kol kamin, she's not empowered. The mafka shibuda, she can't take away the shiba. That shibude should probably be without a yud in there, without the second yud. So she can't. She's not empowered to uproot the obligation, because she's already meshubah. Keeping the meshubah, since he is required to feed her, to give her anah, to give her housing, clothing, food. Lav kol kamina the mafkal shibud. He's not empowered to take away the shibud. The answer is elami toch shiachalomala. Since he could tell her. First, the Gemara is saying since he could tell her, I'll tell you what. You support yourself. The maisi adecha, your paycheck, that should go for your food. He could tell her that. He could tell her that. Unless she objects, and great. If she objects greatly, then there's a whole issue about it. But normally he could tell her, listen, you keep your paycheck, that'll feed you. Nasik Omer, it's as if he said that. Nasik Omer, the Gemara is assuming since he could tell her that, therefore the netter's chal. He says, you can't have enough of me, because since he could tell her, in theory, could tell her, take your paycheck and feed yourself. So it's as if he said that. Says Gemara Be'imi, so Rav, wait a minute. Rav Marav said, a woman could say, I understand, you're saying since you could say that, it's as if he said it. So Rav says a woman could tell her husband, says, I don't want to eat your food, and I'm not going to work for you. You're not going to take my paycheck. So if that's the case, how do we just say in Malf, we just said if a woman swears and says, you can't have any enough from my work, for anything that I do, he said he doesn't have to break that because she's obligated to him. Why? Lema, why don't you say the same thing? We talk since she could say, since she could say, I'm not going to eat your food and I'm not going to work for you. If you're saying it's as if, the reason that it works is because it's as if he said, you keep your paycheck. So it's as if you said that. But if that's the case, a woman could also say, I'll keep my paycheck and you keep your food. So why don't you say the same thing? Why don't we just say on Alf that a woman can't make such an eder, and if he makes such an eder, he doesn't have to break it because she's obligated. Why don't you say it's as if she said, when she said, I'm not going to feed, you can't have any enough for my work, I'm not going to give you any enough. Why didn't you say that net is chal? Because as if she said, I'll keep my paycheck and you keep your food. Don't say it's as if. It's as if doesn't work. Here's what happened. In our mission, speaking about where he said, listen, you keep your paycheck. The bia, we already said he can't take away the bia, right? He can't, even if he says that, if he says the I know of my tashmish is also two rashes ain't adas tashmish or neser alel, right? He can't take the I know of the tashmish. He can't take away from her. It's complicated because if he asks netter himself, that's different. But if he puts the netter on her, he's not allowed to do it because he's meshubah, that he can't do. But if he said, listen, you keep your paycheck and I'll keep my food, and then he said, you can't have anah from me. I'm aser the hanah. Any anah from me is aser on you. Then it does work. Not because of nasa. You keep your paycheck for your food. So the Gemara now said that's what our Mishnah is speaking about. That's why it's chal. Again, on the tashmish it's not chal, and then on the food it's chal. The food and support it's chal because he could say, listen, you keep your paycheck and I'm not going to feed you. So what do you need the parnas for? The Mishnah said if he made such an eder, what does he do? He sets up a trustee to take care of her. What do you need a trustee for? She's got her own paycheck. You don't need a trustee to support her. You just said, speaking about where he says, I'm not going to support you. You support yourself. She has a paycheck that can support her. What do you need a trustee for? Below Safka. Speaking about where her paycheck does not match her needs. Her paycheck is short, a little bit short of her support. So even though Safka, if it's not enough, we're back to our original question. He's mechuyev to support her, right? He has an obligation to support her. Yes, he could. If she could support herself, he could say, listen, you keep your paycheck and I'll keep my support. If she could do that. But if her paycheck is not enough to support her and he has to add to it, so again, he's obligated to do it. So how can the netter be chal? He's obligated to support her. How can he make a netter against something he's obligated to do? Her paycheck is enough to support the basic needs, her support, but it doesn't support the little extra things there. So the Gemara says, what kind of an answer is that? What are we speaking about? Either a gilabu, if she normally, that's what she normally gets. That's what she normally, when she lives with him, that's what she normally is used to getting. So regilabu, she's used to that support and he's obligated to give it to her. Elo regila, if she's not used to getting that support, parnas lumali, so forget that support. If her own paycheck suffices for her support normally, just doesn't add for the little additions, for the additional amounts, additional things that she says. If she's not used to getting them, what do you need a parnas for? Forget it. Just say, you keep your paycheck, I'll keep my support, and I'm forbidding you from having any enough for my support. She used to get it in her father's house, right? But in her husband's house, she doesn't get those little extra additions, right? The little extra allowance or whatever it is. So, but she says, okay, I'll roll with you. I'll abide with your customs. Could she say, until now you didn't make an eder about me, which obviously doesn't make me feel very good. If you forbid me, why would a person make such an eder? You can't have any enough from me. Obviously, that's not good for their, marital relationship, right? So she's not happy about that. Even if she agreed for the paycheck, to keep her paycheck, she's not happy about it. She says, till now that you didn't make an eder. So I gave up on certain things. I come from a wealthy home, but the basic support you gave me. So if I didn't get the extras that my father used to give me, maybe I agree. But now that you made an eder, I don't want to have to put up with you. I want those extras. That's what the parnas is for. Okay. So again, why does it work even though he's obligated? Because it's speaking where he said, you keep your paycheck and I'll keep my support. Why do you need the partners? For the extras. Okay. So why 30 days? What's the business about 30 days? If she has a valid, or just the opposite, if you have a partners there, if she would agree to this, if she says, I don't mind. I like the partners. I don't like living with you anyway. Some people like to live in separate places, right? There are some marriages that work that way. He's in New York, she's in Israel, whatever. Sometimes it works that way. So why 30 days? Why not more? People don't hear about it. She's not embarrassed. She's not embarrassed. She's not degraded because people don't know about it. Until 30 days, people don't notice that they're living separately, that she's not living with him in the house. More than that, people hear about it. People say, listen, I haven't seen her at home for a long time. She's obviously not living with him, not getting his support. It's embarrassing. So until 30 days, we say, okay, you can manage. After 30 days, that's it. The partners is only good for 30 days. He's making the netter from right now. He's saying, listen, you keep your paycheck, I'll keep my support. And let's say she agreed to it, but then he added on a netter. In other words, the idea that you keep your support, you keep your paycheck is something that she can, if she agrees to, if she objects strenuously, then you could say they got to go to court and work it out. But if she normally accepts something like that, and if her paycheck suffices, why not? But if you made a netter, that already puts it in a bad light. So until 30 days, it's not embarrassing. More than 30 days, it is. And therefore, we don't listen. Therefore, the partners is only for 30 days. More than that, you have to give her a get mixed up. Iboy say more, I could tell you, I'll tell you why it worked. It didn't work because he made a deal with her and said, you keep your paycheck. The reason is because he made the netter on her while she was an arusa. When is he obligated to feed her? When they're married. Here, she was betrothed. So when she was betrothed, he's not mechuyev to feed her yet. She'edirik she'arusa. Even though we said a Kohen technically could give his wife truma at Minatorah as soon as they're betrothed because it is kinyan kaspo, but he's not mechuyev to feed her. So he made a netter when she was on Arusa. That netter was chal. That was a good netter. You can't have enough for me. I could say to anybody here, you know what? I forbid my phone is usher to you to have any enough from, or my car is usher to you to have any enough from. So when she's on Arusa, he could also say, all my support, my money is usher to you to have enough from. That is chal. So and then okay, she got so therefore the netter is chal, huh? How does he marry her? Good. So we'll get to that. So arusa miyislam zon. The first question is your question is good, but the first question is she's not entitled to food anyway. What arusa miyislam zon? What food is she? What's the deal over here? You're saying over here, how does it work? How does the netter work? So the first one he said netter works because they made an agreement. You keep your paycheck, I'll keep. She's not. He doesn't have to support her really. It's only for the extras, so there you can do a partner. So why only 30 days? Because it's going to be embarrassing. Fine. But the netter could be chal, even though he's obligated, because he's no longer obligated to support her. Her basic support is not. Or we could speak it about with the netter is chal, because he's not obligated to support her yet, because she's only in Arusa. So more about Arusa Miyaslam Zona. There's no support anyway. What are you talking about? What's the issue over here? You got to divorce her? There's no support. No, Sheigiyas man lo nisu. Remember, it happened 12 months already came, like we're going to see it Mishnah later on. The Tnan, Higiyas man. Our Mishnah talked about it before, it's also Mishnah later. Higiyas man lo nisu. If 12 months happened, they didn't get married. And she said, let's get married already. And they haven't, from the time she demanded to get married, 12 months has passed, and they get married. Then he has to feed her. Remember, we said, what's the reason why you don't feed her like Truma? Right? Because maybe she'll give some to her parents and to her brothers, etc. Right? Or because of Simpon, we said the Gemara because maybe it'll turn out at the Mekach if he finds out she's got a blemish under her dress, and he says the whole Mekach is Mekach, and therefore she wasn't married to a Kohen and she ate Truma Shalokadim. So therefore she's only after 12 months she's out to Truma. But the point is that the rabbi said once 12 months has happened, he has to feed her. How do you get around those things? Because he sets her up a separate house for her, so she's not going to give it to her brothers, and he has her checked out at least superficially by her family, so that she doesn't have any symptom. There's no mum there. So if that's the case, he gives mamblo. So what's we speaking? We're speaking on Rusa, right? We're speaking on Rusa. So on Rusa, the netter is chal because he doesn't have to feed her. But now, 12 months later, when he has to feed her, she's already. There's a netter minatorah. Rashi explains that netter is chal minatorah. That netter is a valid netter that she can't eat from his support. Now, 12 months has come. By 12 months, what's her chiv to support her? Midrabanan. They're not married yet. Right? He just says after 12 months, you have to support her. Okay, that's halacha d'rabbanan. The halacha d'rabbanan cannot supersede the halacha of the netter, the netter, which is the oraisa. So if that's the case, Maishnad Shloshim Yom. So what's the business about Shloshim Yom? Before, when you said they were married, so you say till 30 days she can manage, and people won't talk about her. After 30 days, when everybody knows about it, it's too embarrassing. She'd rather get the ksuba and get in the ksuba. But if you hear her talking about arusa, what's the business about 30 days? Why you could even go more than 30 days? Ad Shloshim Yom, the answer is Ad Shloshim Yom Avid Shliach Shlichusa. Until 30 days, you can rely on the trustee. Tfeilo Avid Shliach Shlichusa. You can ask people a favor, but it's too much to ask them, after 30 days to keep it going might be too much. So that's the answer to that question about why only 30 days. A little bit of a weaker, the whole answer is a little bit weaker because you're talking about only an arusa, and the reason for 30 days is because the shliach won't do his job. A third answer, the shliach to give her the food, the parnas. No, the parnas is basically just the shliach. He appoints somebody to do it. Now, if he appoints somebody to do it, you have another question that we raised once before. We're going to see in a minute. If he appoints somebody to do it, isn't she still getting an off from him? Right. What happened over here? He's not allowed to give her a no. How is he not allowed to? Because they made a deal already, right? Or because he met it with a rusa. So he sets up a parnas. But if he sets up a parnas, if I set up somebody else to support her, right? So she's still getting the no from me. The Gemara is going to deal with that in a few minutes, but we already brought up the question when this Gemara was mentioned a few block back. Any case, a third answer. He made the neder when she was in Rusa, like we said before. And then, like Irving says, yeah, but so what's going on? What was married? How did he marry her? Benissus. And then they got married. Okay, then they got married. Again, but the neder was chal before, and then they got married. See if you tell me that they didn't get married yet, but he's obligated to feed Rabbanan because the 12 months has passed. So you could say, okay, the neder is chal, and he can't feed her. That's how it worked. So what's the 30 days if he's not there, not even married? Why does he have to break the neder? Because the shliach won't do his shlichus. Here we're speaking where she got married. She got married under those circumstances. So that's what you were asking. So if that's the case, right? She got married. Mrs. Hasava V'Kibla. She knows that she was under a neder, not she can't eat his food. Now they go through with the wedding. Now she knows she's not going to ever get the food. So she agreed to it. What's the problem? Why 30 days? She agreed to that. Sava V'Kibla. Sava V'Kibla. Says the Umrah, okay, so if she agreed to it, why do you have to give her a divorce now after 30 days? The Umrah, I thought I could withstand it. I thought I could manage without it. But now I see I can't live this way. By a blemish, you say this idea that I thought, you know what, she's got a blemish or he's got a blemish. I thought I could live with it because I'd rather be married. Then I realized I just couldn't take it anymore. That you could say that idea. I thought I could live with it, but I can't. When it comes to Mazonos, did you really think that she could live that way? According to these answers, we're not saying they made a deal, you keep your paycheck and I'll keep my food. According to this answer, we're saying he can make the neder because she was on a rusa. So you can't have food. So now they're getting married under, who would get married under a situation where he says, you can't eat my food. You can't get my clothing, you can't live in my house. That's a crazy situation. How could she say Hasava V'Kibla? You can't say that she agreed to it. Nobody would agree to something like that. A clearer answer is one of the first two answers. Either we're speaking where they agreed to the deal up front. They agreed that you're going to keep your paycheck. And the reason for the parnas is only because for the extras. And she says, okay, for the extras, I don't, if you're going to make such a neder, I want the extras. So he gets the parnas. And 30 days is because it's embarrassing after 30 days, or because the neder is really chal. She's an arusa, and he's feeding her midrabanan, but he doesn't have to feed her because the neder is chal. And the reason for 30 days is simply because the shliach won't work longer than that. Which the first answer seems the most likely, but they're all a little bit doche. So he said, Ad Shloshim Yom Yom Parnas, and the Gemara says, Parnas Lav Shlichu Seikav. And this is the question we had before. But what do you say? The neder is chal. We're talking about where the neder is chal, right? The neder is chal. How is the neder chal? So he's obligated. The answer is the neder is chal under these circumstances. Either she was in Rusa, or because he said, you keep your paycheck and I'm not going to give you support. And they agreed to it, but she wants the extras that she got in her father's house. So that he sets up the parnas for. But the parnas is a shliach. If the neder is chal, how can he give her no parnas lav shlichusa? Isn't doing his shlichus. I'm Rapuna. But Omer, he didn't say it directly. He didn't appoint him as a messenger and say, you feed my wife. But Omer, he said, whoever feeds my wife will not lose out. In other words, I'll cover that. Isn't that the same thing? Isn't that saying the same thing by the time we learned? A man was in a pit and he was going to die. There was no way out. But whoever can hear my voice, write a get for my wife. He didn't say write the get. He didn't say give the get. He just said yichtav get lishto. Even though he didn't say give it, right? Even though he didn't give it, he didn't say you write it. He didn't tell the sofer directly, you write it and give it. He just said, whoever can hear my voice, please write it and give a get to his wife, because he didn't want her to fall yibam. So you see that kol hashemer kol yichtav get, that's a shliach. If it's not a shliach, it doesn't work. You can't just write a get and give it to somebody's wife. He has to be where he was appointed a shliach. So you hear a guy says, whoever can hear my voice, write a get and give it to his wife. You do it, you're a shliach. So that's the same thing. If he says, whoever feeds my wife, well, I'll pay him for it. That's his shliach.
Who's paying?
Who's paying whom?
Whoever feeds my wife.
What
does that mean? Who's paying?
No, he's paying. He's paying the shliach. He'll pay the shliach.
He's going to give the shliach money.
Yeah.
And say, whoever feeds my wife.
In other words, whoever. Right.
Totally
In the Mishnah, we said yamad parnas. What does that mean?
Right.
Set up a trustee, and he'll give him the money.
Right.
So he's paying for it. The husband's paying for the
Right.
food, for the support, whatever, the clothing, whatever she needs. The husband's paying for it. The question is, isn't it his shliach anyway? So she's getting an off from him. Right. The answer is because he said he didn't appoint this guy shliach. He says, whoever feeds my wife, I'll cover it. I'll cover it.
He's slipping him money while he's doing
it. No. He's not doing it now. He's not there right now. Right. He just says, well, he made an announcement in shul. My wife is under a ban. Whoever wants to feed my wife, take care of it. Bring me the receipts. Bring me the coverload, and I'll cover it. So the question is, isn't that also a shliach? The same thing is like when a guy says, whoever writes a get for my wife, it's, whoever hears my wife's voice, and the guy gives the get, it's a valid get because he made him a shliach. So isn't that, that's the question. Isn't that also a shliach? That's the question. Isn't that a shliach? So that's the question. That's part of the question. So how does that get around the netter of him not giving her anah? He is giving her anah. It's the same thing. All right,
the answer is
how can you compare? Hasam kamer yichdo. There he said you should write the get, right? Hacha mi kamer yizon. Did he say here feed her? He didn't say please feed her. Kalazon kamer. He just said whoever feeds her won't lose out. I'll cover that. That's not directly a shliach. I v'amar avami b'dleika hitiru lomer kolamachaba eina mafsid. Shabbos, on Shabbos, a man's house or factory is burning down, and what is he going to do? What do you do if your house is burning? You can't put it out on Shabbos, right? If there's no life in danger, it's a factory, right? There's nobody there on Shabbos. You're not allowed to put it out. But if you say there's some Mahmoud and Clyde and all the goyim over there, whoever puts out the fire will not, will be properly reimbursed. Whoever does that says, why? Because by a fire, not by other things, but by a fire, if a person is so worried about all his, assets getting burned up, that he might be Mechal Shabbos. So they were matter, that kind of a thing. But whoever puts out the fire won't lose out. I'll cover them. Kol machaba, right? Like whoever feeds his wife. B'dleika, only by a fire. Lemute ma'alav, lemute kavna. Aren't we coming to exclude this? In other words, this is also making a shliach. When I say kol, I didn't say feed my wife. Please, somebody feed my wife. Whoever feeds my wife won't lose out. You see, it's only mutter by a fire on Shabbos because the guy will be upset. Maybe he'll put out the fire himself. So you're mutter. He sees a bunch of guys. Whoever puts out the fire, I'll pay you tonight. I'll cover you. You won't lose out. That's allowed to only by a fire. The Dleki tiro, my lava doesn't have to exclude this case of netter. Says low. Lemute shari surim to Shabbos. Shabbos is more chomer. Chayiv misa, metaraisa by Chayiv misa with two edim from Bezdin. Not kares if there's no edim in Asra, but your Shabbos is more chomer. So we say for a fire you're allowed to do that. But if you say whoever plants my field today on Shabbos won't lose out, that you can't do. Whoever works in my field, whoever harvests the field, the cotton's got to be picked today, and whoever picks it today won't lose out. That you can't do. Only by a fire, right? So lemute sharis from the Shabbos, but not to be mine the Isra over here. In other words, on Shabbos they were not only that one, not other things. But over here for a neder, even if a person says kol hazan, whoever feeds my wife won't lose out, that's not considered a direct shliach, and it's more to do. That's what I'm saying. Masav Rabba, Amura no mechaber, still have a problem. If a man says he can't have an off from somebody else, Reuben can't have an off, let's say from Shimon. Reuben said to Shimon, I'm not having any enough from you. Any enough from you, I forbid myself. Reuben made that netter. So Reuben can't have enough from Shimon. And Shimon has Rahmanas on him because he knows Reuben has no food now. So he goes to the Makola. Each many. Reuben can't have enough for me. I don't know what to do for him. You're all show him here. He sort of hints to the Chambani, take care of it. Just add it onto my tab. Like that. He hinted him. Who knows? Saying the Chambani understood what he meant. He'll give him food above and he'll put it on Shimon's tab. There it's mutter in that case. We didn't say kol hazon. He just said, this guy doesn't have any food and he can't have enough for me. I don't know what we're going to do. Aval kol hazon ain't a mafsid lo. But he didn't say, if he said kol hazon ain't a mafsid, maybe if he said whoever feeds my wife will not lose out, maybe he can't do that. Says, no, lomi boy comer. It means to include that too. Lomi boy kol hazon ain't a mafsid. Kol hazon ain't a mafsid del alma comer. Kol hazon ain't a mafsid. He's speaking to everybody. He didn't appoint Yankel or Shimon or somebody like that. Because that means, listen, I'm in shul. My wife can't have enough from me. We had a fight. I made a netter and all that. And, she agreed that she's going to take her paycheck and I can't get her. But whoever one of you feeds my wife, gives her the extras, won't lose out. I'm not even speaking to her. Speaking to everybody. It's not even a shlichus klal because I didn't tell this guy to do it. I just said anybody. But over here, right? The Rugaletzlo, since we all go to the same makolet, the causal, and he said, listen, Reuben can't have enough for me. What are we going to do for him? Command Omele Zil Havle. It's as if he told the Chavani directly, you give him for me and I'll pay for it. It's Zil Havle Atami, it's like that. Kamash Malon, no, that's also mutter. That even that case, when he said, listen, I don't know what to do for Reuven, he's not he's got no food and he can't have enough for me. Nobody's going to support him. So then when the Chmani does it, that's also mutter. The Kol Hazon is also mutter. And the case of what? Of the get, when the guy was in the board, because he said, whoever hears my voice, Yichtov should write the get. Told him to do. But here he didn't say Yozon, he said Kol Hazon. Kol Hazon, whoever does it, I'm not telling anybody to do it, but whoever feeds my wife will not lose out. He didn't tell them directly, and therefore it's mutter in this case. Gufa. So let's say, again, Reuben can't have enough from Shimon, and Shimon's worried about Reuben because he has no food. So he goes to the Makolet guy, so that he's used to. Many, any of them, I don't know what to do for him. No sin, who knows something about. So the Chavani can give Reuben the food, and he'll take it from Shimon. He'll put it on Shimon's tab. Similar, Beso Livnos, the guy's got a house to build. He's got a fence to construct. The Sedei Elixir, he's got a field to harvest, and he can't have enough from Shimon. Poland. So again, Shimon can go to the workers. That's who usually work there. Each he can't have enough. I don't know what to do for him. So again, they do the work for him. And they get paid from Shimon. That's allowed to do because again, he didn't say directly do it. He just said, I don't know what to do for me. He hinted them. They were on the road. The guy's got no food. Reuben and Shimon walking on the road. They had a fight. Reuben said he's not going to have enough from Shimon. He made it such a netter. So what Reuben could do is, or what Shimon could do is, he can give it to Levi as a gift. Gives it to Levi, finds a third guy. In other words, Reuben and Shimon are walking on the road, and Reuben said he can't have enough from Shimon, and Shimon knows that Reuben's hungry, so he gives it to Levi, and Levi will give it to him. The main shemach, if there's nobody else there, Levi, there's nobody else there, just the two of them. You could put it on a rock, or you get her on a fence. It's mufkar to anybody. Whoever wants to take it. And the other guy could take it and eat it, and that's mutter to do. Okay, because again, he didn't give it to him directly. He gave it to him through a third party. He hinted to him. He didn't get it directly, and therefore it's okay. Rabbi Yossi asers. You can't do that in this case. Amar Rabbi, my time with Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi presumably is answering the last case, or the last case where he almost did it. It's more direct. I'm not sure if Rabbi Yossi is talking about the first two cases. In the first two cases, the Chanbani was in the middle, or the workers were there. Rabbi Yossi answers in this last case where he says, I made mufkara, and he puts it on a rock, and he says, it's mufkar, everybody wants to take it. He asked him, Rabbi Maitam Rabbi Yossi, what's Rabbi Yossi's reason? Zeira Mishum Maisa Beis Charom. The story in Beis Charom, it's a Mishnah in Nedarim. He points out on the side there, Nedarim Ches. It's a Mishnah that tells you a story that happened like this. There was a story in Beit Charom, which is right up here in 443, right off 443, Beit Charom, where a guy had a fight with his father. It happens on occasion when a person, people are not talking to their parents, and he had a fight, and the father prohibited. The father was not allowed to have anah from the son. Either the father prohibited himself from having anah, or the son prohibited the father from having any of his anah. And then the son made a wedding. He wanted his father to come to the wedding. Embarrassing. Where's your father? He didn't come. So what he did was he told Yankel, the son, told Yankel, I'm giving you all the Suda. I'm giving you everything I have. Here's $100,000 for the wedding. It's your money. It's your money. So when the father has anah, when the father comes to the wedding, he's having anah from Yankel, not from the son. That's what he said. What did Yankel do? Yankel said, well, if it's mine, I makdish all the money. I'm giving it to the Beis Hamikdash. So he says, I didn't give it to you to Beis Hamikdash. I gave it to you in order so my father should come to the wedding. He says, so you two are going to have a good time at the wedding, and I'm the sinner over here because you didn't really give it to me, right? So the Gemara over there says, Mishnah says over there, anytime that it's a gift that the guy can't be makdish it, right? He didn't give it to him full 100% as a gift, can't be makdish it or be makadosh nisha with it. So ownership means that if I want to, I could be makdish it or I can be makadosh nisha with it. You're only giving it to me to circumvent your problem with the wedding. You're not really giving it to me. I'm just holding it for you, and I'm writing the checks and all that, but it's really yours. So therefore, they forbade that. So Rabbi Yossi says over here, it's exera, when you say the guy can't have enough of me, I'll put it on the rock, and I'll say whoever wants to take it. I'm really giving it away. Whoever wants to take it, I'm only giving it so that Reuben can eat it. I'm not really giving it away. It's this exera because of Ma'aseh Beis Choron that there he said you can't do that. So the same thing over here, he said you can't do this here as well.
Rabbi Yossi would answer the parnus?
Would answer the parnus in that case from putting the food out that way because he's not really giving it. He's not really, because he's really giving it direct, because he's not really making it hefker. He's not really making it hefker. He's really just giving it to the guy. Hefker is hefker l'kol. In Shemitah now, I said yesterday, I see the pomegranates. You're supposed to put up a sign, whoever wants to can come and take it. If you only tell your neighbor to take it, but not everybody else, you're not really being mafter it.
We had a sign, they took the sign.
Well, you made the sign hefker too.
Yeah,
but on the sign you said hefker, so they assumed that it meant for the sign.
We had a sign.
All right, so Rabbi Yehuda said in the Mishnah, B'Yisrael Chodesh Echad. So what did the Mishnah say? That when you made the netter, however it was chal, because you made a deal with the paycheck, she keeps her paycheck, or because she's in a rusa, whatever the answer you want to give, but the netter was chal. The netter was chal, so you set up the parnas. And we said 30 days. Up to 30 days, you could set up a parnas. More than 30 days, you have to give her a ksuba, if she doesn't agree to it, of course. So Rabbi Yehuda Amar B'Yisrael Chodesh Echad, right? Maybe this is 1 month. Now, they're not really arguing about Chodesh Echad, right? Hamadas Ishtay says, the Tanakama says 30 days, you agree. More than 30 days, then you have to give her ksuba. Rabbi Yehuda says, for Yisrael, 1 month is good. But for a Kohen, you allow them 2 months because, he can't take her back if he changes his mind, if they calm down and they make up. So the Gemara says, Haina Tanakama. As far as the first month goes, as far as Yisrael goes, it's the same as Tanakama. So Amar Abai says, Kahanas Hasvalishmina. You're right. He agrees with the Tanakama as far as Yisrael goes. Chodesh Echad. He's just adding on. For a Kohen, it's different. For a Kohen, you allow 2 months. That's one answer. Rav Amar Chodesh Molim Chodesh Chaser Ikaminau. The Tanakama says 30 days. When they say you're in court, you got 30 days. You got 30 days to pack your bags. You got 30 days to comply with the court's request or whatever it is. 30 days is 30 days. That's what he said. Rav Yehuda said Chodesh. So sometimes a month in a Jewish calendar, sometimes a month is 29 days, sometimes 30 days. So maybe that's enough. Kamina. Rav Yehuda says you go by the month. You don't go by you don't go by the month. Maybe he means only this month, but there's if it was done on the first of the month, maybe it's only to the end of the month, 29 days. There's another nafkamina between them. Now we come to a big issue. When we say over here you have 30 days, does that mean that the netter was for 30 days up front, or that even if it wasn't? So here we have machlokas. Amarav lo shalom b'mfarish. This is what we say that you say you give 30 days is only if he said 30 days. If he made the netter stam, he didn't say the netter is for 30 days. He forbade her from having an awe forever. He just said it's indeterminate. It's indefinite. It's indefinite. There's no, not putting a time limit on it. Then Rav says you got to divorce her right away. If he said for 30 days, okay, for 30 days we said she can abide by it. She's not afraid about the thing. The partner's going to abide by it according to the second answer. According to the first answer, she's not. People won't talk about her 30 days. But if you say forever, then she's upset right away, and you have to give her a get right away. That's Rav's opinion. Shmuel Amar afilu b'stam. Even if he said it's stam, lo yotzi, he doesn't have to divorce until 30 days. Shemayim sepesel, maybe he'll go to a Talmud Chacham, imatan and eder. In other words, if 30 days has passed, yeah, then he has to give her an eder. But Shmuel says you don't say that if he made it indefinite, he just said can't have enough of me, and that means indefinitely. You just have to get divorced right away. That's what Rav says. Shmuel says you don't have to get divorced. Wait 30 days. Maybe in the interim he'll find a pesach neder. We had this machlokus before. It's Rav and Shmuel. That's on. Hamad says from Tashamita. Let's say he made a neder Tashamita. We said before he can't prohibit her from having Tashamita because he's obligated to her, but he could prohibit himself. He could say the hanav, the tashmish is also on him. Okay, so at what point now the netter's chal? So at what point does he have to give a netter? Remember, Shabbos says two weeks, because 2 weeks is like the Leda, right? Like any time by a Leda. Anyway, it's also when she gave birth to in a keva, she's also for 2 days. For 2 weeks, they had 2 weeks. They still remember Shabbos achas. 1 week. Why? Because of Nida. Remember, Gemara said maybe he's going by a Zachar. No, the Gemara says, why doesn't he use Zachar? No, because they still says you look by a Nida. Nida is also for 7 days Minat Torah. So the same thing, 7 days you can abide by. Otherwise, if it's more than that, you have to give a get. Rav said machlokas mefarish. Machlokas is only when he said beferish 7 days or 14 days. Avol b'stam, if he said it's stam yotzi lal to be considered stam, you have to give a get right away. Shmuel Amar afil b'stam nami lo yotzi. Doesn't say stam. If 7 days has passed according to Beisil, then you have to give her a get. But if he said stam, you don't have to divorce her right. So we find the same machlokas Rav and Shmuel over there by when he answered Tashmish, just like over here when he answered her having an off from him. Why do they have to have machlokas in both cases? The Gemara says there Rav says, maybe in the case where the answered Bia, the answered cohabiting with her, there Rav said, if he didn't say specifically a time, he's made it indefinite. Well, you can't set up a shliach to do it, right? You set up a shliach to feed her and pay her. You can't set up a shliach to have Bia with her. So there, maybe Rav is machmir says, listen, if there was no time, divorce her right away. But over here, it's not so bad if he forbade her. Even if he did it stam, he could set up a parnas for 30 days. It's not so terrible right now. Maybe he's motor Shmuel. Kamashmal, no, he disagrees with Shmuel in both cases, even in our Mishnah too. If he did it indefinitely, divorce her right away. And if you tell me this case over here, Shmuel, here Shmuel says Mishum Def Shabbapanas. Here Shmuel says if he did it without a date, he did it indefinitely. You say, okay, give her 30 days because maybe he'll find a pesach for the he'll go to Tam Chacham Matar Neder Bein Time. But over there, if he didn't set up a time, maybe he's motor to Rav. Can't set up a parnas over there. So over there, maybe he's motor to Rav that if she didn't make a specific time, she has to give a get right away, not wait 7 days. Therefore, Shmuel, we have to tell you that Shmuel and Rav argue in both cases. We'll pick up this discussion in Hashem tomorrow. Have a good day, everybody.
Can't we learn it from these zeros?
From
The zeros.